cooler air as well. And then as we head in towards Friday, well, look at that. Temperature is still struggling to get into the 60s. Once again, that's going to be the main thing that we really have going on with us, right? It's the cooler air and then the sunshine that really just allows us to hang in towards the upper 50s and low 60s for a lot of us. So that's certainly the one thing that we end up having to deal with. But it's a good problem because most of us are still expected to be well in towards the 50s and 60s, even in towards Friday after such a beautiful Thursday. And that actually follows us into the weekend where we're expected to see temperatures a little bit more in towards those low 60s once again. Looking here at the southeast zones as well now, you'll notice that temperatures are hanging right there in the lower 60s just because we have a little bit more sunshine, a little bit warmer, just a little bit south, right? But over towards parts of western Maryland, West Virginia, and even the western side of Virginia, right? That's where temperatures will be struggling to even try to hit 60 degrees tomorrow. Front Royal may get a little lucky because they see a break in the cloud cover. But the temperature trend also will just continuously show that we're sitting around 60 degrees and the upper 50s as we head in towards the weekend. Sundays where we're expected to see a little bit more cloud cover as we continue to really have that next system making its way in. Tracking the fall colors though, look at that. Not too bad. We see that still have plenty of orange, so getting near peak closer to us. But then the 7-day forecast will show that cloud cover does return by the time we get to Monday. Temperatures don't really change. We actually start to drop down a little bit more going into Tuesday and Wednesday, but that's the time frame when we're expected to see the potential for some rain. So again, models are still a little bit split. It gets a little bit iffy, and that's unfortunately this time of season, you know. We get those systems that start to roll off the coast and spin over top of the ocean, and that could potentially just bring us some of that wet weather. So we're monitoring closely because it could either be a good amount of rain or just a few showers like we saw last time.
Yeah, in the meantime, it's cool, calm, and collected. All right, Caesar with all things weather joining us right here on the Live Zone. Hey guys, if you haven't already done so yet, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take that forecast with you on the go. Well, it's the big story of the day. FBI Director Kash Patel and other officials detailing a massive mafia-linked gambling and sports rigging probe that led to the arrests of Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier and Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups. The probe involved two major operations, one centered on illegal betting on various NBA games and another revolving around underground poker games where high-tech cheating technology happened to be used to steal from millions of victims.
Our office conducted a massive nationwide takedown from two indictments of 34 defendants for their alleged involvement in two separate illegal poker and sports betting schemes where, as you heard, the odds were rigged in their favor. Among these defendants are 13 members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, to include capos and soldiers from these families. Additionally, as you heard, current and former NBA coaches and players are also implicated, to include Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier.
Obviously, the arrest of both the NBA player and current head coach is a major black eye to the NBA, which just started their regular season. We're going to dive deep into the story at 12:20 right here on the Live Zone. Now to politics, where the Senate set to vote today on a GOP bill that would, well, let's say pay workers who are deemed essential during the shutdown, including troops and TSA agents. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Andrea Kaye, political strategist and radio host back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend. Happy Thursday. All right,
it's always fun to be with you, Guy.
Yep. Well, it's a busy day already. I can tell you all things that are taking place on Capitol Hill. Real quick, before we dive into politics, any comments with regard to the major arrests of both a current NBA player and current NBA head coach?
Wow, I'm a recovering NFL addict, and the NBA was never my sport, but I am so gripped by this story, Guy. It's so fascinating. We're talking about X-ray contact lenses. We're talking about rigged shuffling machines. We're talking about NBA players faking injuries. The code name was Operation Royal Flush. There's just so much that's fascinating about this story, and I guarantee you, Guy, 2 hours up the road from me in Hollywood, producers are are scrambling to get the script written to make this movie. I recommend Denzel Washington to play the lead to play Rozier Billups. My favorite actor.
That would be a sight to see, and quite honestly, I would not be surprised should that happen. With regard to politics, it's a political deadlock, if you will, that has the entire government shut down. It's now day 23, Andrea, and still no end in sight. We know that the Senate failed for the 12th time on yesterday to pass a funding bill that would really end the shutdown. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson continues to blame Democrats for the shutdown, saying they're making history for all the wrong reasons. What say you?
Well, it's not what say me, Guy. Unfortunately for the Democrats, it's what say people like House, Senate Minority Whip Catherine Clark, who did an interview with Chad Burgum, I believe, from Fox News, and said, look, she said the truth. She said, we hate that people are suffering, but unfortunately, it's the only leverage we have right now in this moment.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to walk that back. She's trying to say that she was taken out of context. But that's just the absolute truth here. And the American people know it. They know that the Democrats are digging their heels in, inflicting pain on the American people for power. And quite frankly, we see that as being the Democrat strategy regarding so many different issues taking place in our country, whether it's inflicting pain on ICE officers in order to enforce their agenda instead of the people's agenda that was voted for with President Trump, or whether it's inflicting pain on Americans with keeping in with their no cash bail policies, which is a policy initiative for the Democrats, or even fighting deportations of the worst who are in this country committing all types of heinous acts. And, or even Jay Jones, who's running for Attorney General, who said it in a text message when he said, yeah, I said that about murdering and my opposition and his two children, because sometimes you have to inflict pain for policy. And that's what's happening here. And America knows it.
Yeah. Yet again, it is now day 23. There are so many folks that are, in essence, sitting on the sidelines, just waiting for the government to get its act together so that they can go back to work and collect a paycheck. Andrea, I can tell you, we have seen long lines of folks that, just had a job the other day and now they don't, standing on a food bank line, waiting for a few food to be distributed to them. It's a real problem, and it's affecting a lot of Americans.
Absolutely. In fact, not to overshare here, but my mother worked for the federal government my entire life, and we dealt with many furloughs. And she worked at, whether it was at Department of Labor, Interior, or Defense. We dealt with shutdowns growing up, and there were times we were scared because I didn't come from wealthy people, Guy, and we were scared. Were we going to be able to pay for food? Were we going to have the lights on? Fortunately, it never went to that point when Mama was working for the federal government, but I know what it's like for the families to be fearful at these times. And so Democrats do the right thing, sign the same, vote for the same continuing resolution that you voted for in March, put an end to this.
Yet again, we are awaiting a White House press briefing in the 1 p.m. hour. I would assume that they will address just that. And when that happens, we'll take you there live right here on the Live Zone. Meanwhile, a federal judge now extending her restraining order banning President Trump from deploying National Guard troops to Illinois. The judge ruled that the ban will remain in effect until a final judgment is reached, possibly by the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, many of you know the order stems from a lawsuit filed by Illinois in the city of Chicago against the Trump administration. It seems like we're going back and forth with this, Andrea. No end in sight.
Yeah, well, back and forth from Illinois to Portland. Look, we just had, the Democrats, going with my theme of being willing to inflict pain on people in order to push policy. We saw Pritzker and others, denying police support for ICE officers in Illinois. Trump, rightfully as the executive, has wanting to call in the National Guard, or calling in the National Guard at states in order to provide assistance, which he has every right to do as the executive in order to enforce immigration policy. To catch up on a couple of other legal cases, the Ninth Circuit, what I used to call the Ninth Circuit Court of Schlemiels out here on the West Coast, just ruled that President Trump did have the right to call out the National Guard in Portland. And then just today, we saw the Ninth Circuit also uphold a lower court ruling in Newsom versus Trump that President Trump had the right right, yet again, to call out the National Guard when local officials were refusing to cooperate with the federal government, who has the right to enforce immigration laws. It's particularly distasteful out here in California. For decades, as Democrat California officials have declared, we can't do anything about this open border. We can't do deportations. We're not in control of federal immigration laws. That's on the feds. Well, you know what? It is on the feds. Stop blocking it, Democrat officials.
All right, we're going to stay in your state of California, where we now know that Nancy Pelosi says local police can arrest, if you will, federal agents who break California law during immigration raids. The former Democratic House Speaker made that comment yesterday after the Trump administration said it was sending over 100 immigration agents to the San Francisco Bay Area. I could tell that's probably got you hot under the collar there, Andrea.
Well, she's one of the people that's been here for decades, using the excuse that California can't do anything to enforce immigration laws, to secure the border, to deport the illegals that have come into this country, despite the fact that they're committing crimes. Look, the Democrats are trying to defend what is indefensible to the American people, and that is we had upwards of 20 million illegal aliens come into this country. It was an invasion. The numbers of murders, assaults, DUIs, and beyond have had the American people vote for President Trump in November 2024 to do exactly what he is attempting to do, fulfill the will of the American people, which is mass deportations. And she knows good and dang well that the federal government has the right to be doing this. And now she is trying to use law enforcement to block the president's full authority, as we've already just heard from the Ninth Circuit Court. He has the right. They didn't just rule that he had the right to bring in the National Guard. They ruled that he had the right to enforce immigration laws in this country, and that the local officials refused to cooperate with him. Old girl knows that what she is saying is absolutely incorrect, legally and politically.
That remains to be seen. We know the Trump administration has struck a second alleged drug trafficking vessel in the Pacific Ocean. In a post on X yesterday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced 3 alleged narco-terrorists were killed in the Eastern Pacific. This yet again causing a lot of tension between the U.S. and Colombia right now. Andrea?
Well, look, there is a war that's been waged against the American people. The number one cause of death for ages 18 to 45 in this country is fentanyl overdoses. They're waging war against us. And here we have a president who's decided to do something about it. Look, you're our country and you're going to send your drug lords here to kill Americans. The president's going to do something about it. And we should all be saying a collective huzzah and support President Trump in doing this. What I found interesting about the president of Colombia was, in addition to threatening to, I guess, de-alive President Trump, he also said, look, when he backtracked off that, he said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do. He threatened then Trump to use lawfare against Trump and said, I'm going to find me some attorneys in the United States that will stop him in a court of law. And I think that resonated with me, and it should with the American people, because because that has been a tactic that has been used by our own people that he's picking up on here to block Trump from doing what the American people elected him to do. And that includes dealing with this war that we're facing with drugs. And
I would assume yet again that this will be one of the many things you will discuss on your upcoming radio show. Andrea Kaye.
This, as well as the big story of the arrest today with the NBA. That's a fun story to talk about.
I can't wait to listen. Yet again, Andrea Kaye, political strategist and radio host, joining us right here on the Live Zone. We'll chat soon, my friend.
Thanks, Guy.
You bet. Well, the Chinese Communist Party recently imposed unprecedented export controls on rare earths minerals, escalating the U.S.-China trade war. Now the question is posed: how is that the Chinese regime managed to gain control over so many essential supplies? And better yet, how should the Trump administration approach this threat to national security? Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Lee Smith, a veteran journalist and author of the China Matrix, the epic story of how Donald Trump shattered a deadly pact. Mr. Smith, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Nice to see you guys. Thanks very kindly for having me on today.
Yep, you bet. Let's start with, well, I guess the topic of discussion in this case, China imposing export controls on rare earth minerals. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, they went nuclear, and it was in response to the Trump administration listing a whole bunch of Chinese companies that had behaved very badly. They were transferring American technology to Iran, which was handing it off to their proxies. And some of this drone technology, American drone technology, was used in the October 7, 2023 attack on Israel. So the Trump administration is protecting American national security and American allies, and the Chinese responded and went nuclear. How dare you punish us for making war on you? So the Trump administration is in the right here.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about your book is that within it, you reveal the shocking truth about how U.S. political and corporate elites really conspired with Beijing to reshape the global order at America's expense. Do tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the Chinese Communist Party is a very bad actor. The problem is that we have a whole bunch of American elites, both on the political side and the corporate side, that have been protecting them for 50 years. So when people talk about, oh, our supply chains, or we're all also interwoven with China, that's been the work of American political figures and American corporate leaders. They're at the root of the problem. And now we see one of the things that Donald Trump is trying to do is trying to lure American companies back from China, back to the United States, because the problem isn't just the loss of American manufacturing jobs. That trade imbalance, as Donald Trump points out in an extensive interview in my book, that trade deficit that we run with China, that's given them, certainly since the WTO in 2001, trillions of dollars with which they've built their military. They've built their tech sector, which includes a very aggressive AI program. So it's us.
Yeah, all of which, yet again, you can find out more information within your book, dubbed The China Matrix, the epic story of how Donald Trump shattered a deadly pact. Mr. Smith, it's truly a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Thank you so much for coming on.
Appreciate it, guy.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, it's the big story yet again of the day. The story that's sending shockwaves throughout the NBA, the gambling probe. We'll dive into the weeds of it all next, right here on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, earlier today, FBI Director Kash Patel and other officials detailed a massive, and I mean a massive, mafia-linked gambling and sports rigging probe that led to the arrests of Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier and Portland Trail Blazers head coach Chauncey Billups. Now, the probe involved two major operations. One centered on illegal betting on various NBA games, and another revolving around underground poker games where, get this, high-tech cheating technology was actually used in order to steal from millions of victims. Among the defendants in the dual operation are members of, count 'em, 4 American crime families, including the Gambino and Genovese families. Let's take a look.
Our office conducted a massive nationwide takedown from 2 indictments of 34 defendants for their alleged involvement in 2 separate illegal poker and sports betting schemes where, as you heard, the odds were rigged in their favor. Among these defendants are 13 members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, to include capos and soldiers from these families. Additionally, as you heard, current and former NBA coaches and players are also implicated, to include Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. 3 of the named defendants are charged for their alleged roles in both schemes. This alleged illegal gambling operation hustled unwitting victims out of tens of millions of dollars and created a financial pipeline for La Cosa Nostra to help fund and facilitate their organized criminal activity. Victims were attracted to play alongside well-known professional athletes and coaches like Chauncey Billups, only to be unknowingly deceived through rigged shuffling machines, fixing the odds in their favor, as alleged and as you just heard from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This alleged scheme wreaked havoc across the nation, exploiting the notoriety of some and the wallets of many to fund the Italian crime families here in New York. Let me be clear about this fact. The FBI has not and will never take their eye off the ball when it comes to Italian organized crime in this city. Specifically,
Yet again, this is a major black eye to the NBA, which just started the regular season this week. A lot of folks, as you heard me make mention earlier, finding this hard to believe and saying that they too remain in disbelief. Obviously, this will continue to unfold right before our very eyes, and as it does, we will have the latest for you right here on the Live Zone. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 12:27. In just a minute, we're talking all things comedy. But yet again, this is no laughing matter. And I'm making reference to the big story of the day that you heard me make mention of earlier. FBI Director Kash Patel and other officials detailing that massive mafia-linked gambling and sports rigging probe with the arrest of one current NBA player and one current NBA coach. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Lester Ricard Jr., former NFL player and sports analyst. Good to see you, my friend. It's been quite some time. Welcome back to the show.
I miss you, man. You need to call more often, man. I miss you.
No doubt. So, Lester, I got to tell you, this is, I don't even know where to begin. Not only is this rocking the NBA, but the entire sports world at that. To think that this was actually happening for what officials said for years, and for us to finally hear about it is just yet again truly surprising. And for me, I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah, so am I, man. To get that breaking news alert this morning that Chauncey Billups, an NBA head coach, has been arrested by the FBI because being connected to the mafia because of gambling. We all know the Pete Rose story and that backstory, how he hasn't been allowed to be back, or at least been inducted into the Hall of Fame for baseball. And to see an NBA head coach and an NBA player in Terry Rozier, who has a contract of 4 years, $97 million, to be arrested on fraud, on gambling, on being connected to the mafia, is one of the most earth-shattering news stories that we've had in a very long time in sports.
Yeah, and it's a 2-for-1, and you made mention of Billups, and I want to stick on that for just a second, where we now know, yet again, he's accused of taking part in an illegal underground poker game, or 2 or 3, or who knows how many, said to have worked side by side with the mafia. That's the one that really got my ear. Not only that, but what I'm thinking, Lester, is if he happened to be contacted in working with the mafia, we would be fools to think that there is not someone else that perhaps actually followed suit.
Yeah, you know, you talk about gambling, and I know some of these athletes, like a Michael Jordan, who looks at gambling, you know, they get out this competitive environment of playing sports, and you just yearn for that competitive juice. But to be connected to the mafia, all right, this isn't Goodfellas. This isn't The Sopranos. You're an NBA head basketball coach, and to see and to be connected to something that has really plagued our country for so long, you know, and the mafia is always had this this kind of like this mythical action figure that we've heard about, but we've never been able to quite touch until we start seeing these Goodfellas stories. And so to have Chauncey Billups, a recognized NBA legend of the Detroit Pistons, is something that is so unimaginable, and I would never thought that we'd be here to this day.
Yet again, innocent until proven guilty. But wait, there's more. He's also in the NBA Hall of Fame. I mean, this is a major black eye to the NBA. Yeah. You talk about egg on the face. We also know that, according to the officials, that allegedly they were using, they being Chauncey Billups and the mafia and whomever else happened to be involved, using high-tech glasses, if you will. I mean, something out of a James Bond movie. Special contact lenses and glasses to read special cards. You know, yet again, it was very interesting. I just had a conversation with our political strategist, Andrea Kay, and she said, Guy, I can't wait for the movie to start, and it's probably going to play Denzel Washington. I believe her.
Yeah, man, it won't be me, that's for sure. That is unbelievable. Like, to get that news this morning, that here we are, you talk about a Hall of Fame and Chauncey Billups, a guy who spent years on ESPN and breaking down the game, and to become an NBA head coach, and to, you know, he haven't had the most successful NBA career, but what Chauncey Billups, what do you need the money for, right? You probably make anywhere between $5 to $10 million as an NBA head coach, and to engage in that type of activity with a group of people that, one, if the story ever comes out who he's connected with, many lives can be lost behind this, Jay. You know that. You know, when you start talking about the mafia, you know that it's just not dollars and cents. It's blood that comes with that. And so this is going to be a story that I don't think is going to go away in a year or 2 years. I think what you're going to see now moving forward is how many other athletes, professional people who were connected to this mafia, to this mob, because I don't think this is going to get any prettier moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely something that is not only the story of the day, but within the sports world, arguably the story of the year. You just made a comment about I don't know why he would do that, and he makes so much money. And Lester, I want you to comment on this because you played sports professionally, and I have a couple of buddies that happen to have done the same. I have never seen such a drive, the competitiveness, if you will, from any other person. And someone that's in that realm, that's in that professional sports thing, it's the drive. It's I gotta beat these guys. Do you think perhaps that could have been something that led, if true, Chauncey to actually do something like this? The drive of trying to beat the system?
There's no doubt about it. Jay, I'm going to tell you something. When I can remember for myself personally, going from playing in the NFL for the number of years I did and just trying to chase the dream, chase the locker room, that competitiveness. You know, I started playing basketball in this old men's league where guys couldn't even walk and chew gum at the same time. They were carrying a cane around playing against me. And I just yearned for just competing. You know, you don't ever get away from that. And so many of these professional athletes, they look for what is the next thing that catches their urge. And you think sometimes these guys get into coaching. Why? Because they can't turn the competitiveness off, the winning and losing. And I think Chauncey Billups, you're looking at this case where he got so caught up into this ring operation that he had to prove to himself, because Chauncey's a champion. All right, these guys who are champion, Michael Jordan, the Kobe Bryants, they look for something that just makes them get to the next level of competing. And obviously, Chauncey Billups found the wrong thing. I thought coaching could do it for him, right? But apparently that didn't solve the juices. So, you know, here we are today with one of the most earth-shattering stories in sports history.
Yeah, yet again, innocent until proven guilty. I got time for just one more question. I want to touch on the other, the current NBA player that's also in the hot seat. According to the feds, he was sharing inside confidential information. For example, who's playing, who's not playing, who's injured, who's not injured. And we know that at one point, or at least that they're alleging, that he tanked a game back in 2023 so that people who bet those under numbers would actually win. And Lester, I got to ask you, somebody that, yet again, is competitive, would you do that? Would you hold back, or would you want to shine to the complete, to the ultimate level that you could do on a daily basis when playing a game?
Well, listen, I think Herm Edwards said it best. Hello, we played to win the game, no matter what. We played to win the game. And once again, we talk about, I said it earlier, Terry Rozier's contract is 4 years, $97 million. And when you look at the numbers, apparently he moved the needle $13,000. Like, really? That's not enough to have a possibility that I will lose my career, I'll lose my freedom in this country, and I'll be banned. Because I'm telling you, these guys are going to be banned from the NBA, from probably sports forever, no matter what circumstances come out of this. And so I have no clue, Jay. I'm still wrapping my mind around why he would do such an egregious act, just like all of us. This is earth-shattering, and I'm praying that there's some good that comes out of this. But let me tell you something, Jay, and I'm going to look. Once they started allowing sports betting to happen in our country, especially with our professional athletes, you knew this was going to happen. Listen, this won't be the last story of guys tanking, betting on themselves, or giving insider information. Like, you know, once they start unpeeling the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, and some of these other professional sports, you're going to have a whole lot of issues like this pop up.
Yeah, and obviously we'll cover it from the time it starts to the time it ends, and maybe even get you a starring role on that movie we were talking about.
That's right. That's
Lester
right.
Ricard Jr., former NFL player and sports analyst, joining us on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time, my friend. We'll chat soon. All right, guys, we got to take a quick break. Hey, on the flip side of that break, we're talking all things comedy. Stick around. I think you're going to have a laugh or two. That's up next right here on the LZ. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Let's have a laugh or two, shall we? In this case, we're talking about the comedy conference hosted by Funny and Amen at Washington Adventist University in Tacoma Park. By the way, it's taking place from the 29th through November the 1st. It's a 4-day celebration that blends faith, humor, and culture, designed to really explore the role of laughter in healing, spirituality, and everyday life. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Kevin Hackenberg and Leland Klassen, both of which are kind enough to hop on the Live Zone with me. Good to see you guys, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for being patient. Obviously, we have been covering a number of developing stories throughout the day, but I wanted to make sure we got our laughs in because they are much needed. Folks that are hearing about this for the first time, do tell. How did this all come to be?
Well, I run a nonprofit called Funny and Amen. You can find it online. And we were invited to Washington Adventist University to do a conference and just talk about entertainment, opportunities for students in entertainment. And I previously had done a comedy show at my house, turned my house into a comedy show. And the good people of Washington Adventist University were like, if you turned your house into a comedy club, can you turn our university into a comedy club? And we said yes. I invited Leland and some other great comics. And not only are we going to have a comedy show featuring Leland's and some other comedy friends on Saturday night, we're also going to show a comedy feature film called Murder in the Lake House with an Academy Award nominee, Gary Busey, in it. And that's going to be Thursday night. And then because it's academia, they were like, hey, let's do a conference and mix together theologians, comedians, and people in healing, and talk about the healing powers of laughter and comedy.
Yeah, this is much needed, and I cannot wait for this actually to really unfold right before our eyes. Leland, I got to ask, at what point did you know you were funny? Because at times I thought I was, but then I realized I'm not, and so that's why I'm doing this show.
I think it was school. You get out of a couple of beatings from a bully, and you think, hey, maybe I got something here. That's pretty much where it started for me.
And so with that, and don't give us the whole shebang, if you will, but how do you put your material together? I've always wondered in the world or in the mind of a comedian, how one would go about to say, you know what, I think this is funny. I'm going to say this or I'm going to say that, and it lands.
Yeah, it's, for me early on, it was just trial and error. It's mainly, but as you work any muscle, right, it gets bigger and stronger, and so as you work the comedy muscles, you start to pick up. The trial and error becomes less and less each time as you figure out how to do it properly.
I've always said that the hardest, so I host a lot of events and so forth and so on, but I have the ultimate respect for a comedian. I mean, it's as if you're standing on stage, but butterball naked, and everyone's just looking at you saying, make me laugh, and you better be funny. I mean, that is the biggest fear, and you do it all so well. And so congratulations on all your success. Kevin, I'm thinking about the audience, if you will. In this case, I'm thinking about comedians interacting with university audiences. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding that as of late.
Yeah, I think that what Leland talked about, the trial and error, especially in this crazy environment where
he's
comedy
saying we're old,
laughter.
I think, right? Are you saying we're old?
What?
No, I'm not saying that, because I'm right up there with you, buddy. This is just the makeup.
Yeah, but there's so much trial and error with comedy. But right now, the students are kind of like, they make me laugh. There's this demandingness. And I think that with comedians, especially in this university setting, we got to build trust back, and that's part of the comedian's job on stage, is to build trust with the audience, and then take them where they may not want to go, where that the medicine might sting a little bit, but makes a good point.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you touched on that, because Leland, it is interesting. We had another comedian on the show recently, and I remember she said to me, I got a call to do a university, and she said, I bombed, guy, and she's really funny, just like you. And she said, you have to learn your audience. So now when I get a call, I know certain audiences I can and cannot perform in front of. Sure. Have you found yourself in that same position?
Yeah, well, and the comedy scene has changed. Like from when I started doing it X number of years ago, they said be as broad as possible. That's kind of the key. That's how you get that's how you get the network deals into this and that. But now it's changed so much because of social media. There's these niche audiences that people find, and sheep herders in Yemen, and you have an audience. You have 3 million people that are like, I love those kind of comedy.
Yeah.
So it's changed so much. But yeah, you for sure have to know your audience when you're stepping on a stage.
All right, so we got about 2 minutes left, so let's set the scene, if you will. What's to be expected at the comedy conference? Obviously, when I walk through the doors, what am I going to see? What am I going to hear? What am I going to be surrounded by?
Well, it's a mix. If you go to the Funny Men's website, there's a whole schedule from a convocation on Wednesday in the morning for the students, primarily, to Thursday, a film screening and some comedy film events. Leland's actually going to come and host that as well Thursday night. And then Friday, Leland, myself, and some other comedians are going to interact in a more academic way. And if you got 2 minutes of want to try it out yourself, want to do that trial and error yourself, you can come out on Friday for the academic symposium of the conference. And then Saturday night, we're just going to let loose and get Leland up there to entertain. And hopefully he doesn't, like your story beforehand, throw this one,
But listen, the only reason I'm doing this is I lost a ton of money gambling on sports. So I gotta make it back.
Well, in that case, I need to join you, so I'll be right there watching. Yet again, we've been speaking with Kevin Hackenberg in Leland class. And hey, guys, I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Folks, let's go ahead and put it up on the screen, Joey. The comedy conference, if you will, set to get underway beginning October 29th through November the 1st. For more information, you see it right there, funnyandAmen.com. Guys, I truly appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. We are 10 minutes away from the top of the hour, 1 o'clock to be exact. Within that hour, we are expecting a White House press briefing. Obviously, the topic of discussion, well, a number of things, but for many folks that are based right here in this area, it happens to be the government shutdown, now day 23. Earlier today, House Speaker Mike Johnson had this to say.
You were still trying to get the details of this $230 million the president has asked for the Justice Department to pay for his legal bills. Now that you've had some time, perhaps, to get the details, are you okay with taxpayers potentially being on the hook for that kind of money?
I'm not trying to dodge the question. I haven't had time to get the details. Okay, that's still on my list, things to do list. Yesterday was almost literally a 21-hour workday. Yes, sir. Back row.
Legislation in the Senate to pay air traffic controllers during the shutdown. If that does pass in the Senate, would you bring the House back to vote on that? And then, absent congressional action, would you work with the White House to find a way to pay air traffic controllers during the shutdown? And where would you pull that money from?
Well, let me answer the questions in reverse order. We did work with the White House to get air traffic controllers paid. It's called the Clean CR. We passed it in the House September 19th. By my count, it's 33 days ago. It's been...
Sean Duffy just said
Yep.
that air traffic controllers are going to be
Yes, yes. They're trying to find, the White House has bent over backwards to mitigate the harms to the American people. We got WIC funded by bootstrapping a 1930s era statute regarding tariff revenue. He found unobligated funds in the R&D accounts at DOD to get the troops paid in the middle of October. But we're running out of resources. They're running out of creative ideas, and there is not an existing pot of money that could cover the air traffic controllers' salaries right now. And so that is why we have to get the government reopened. Again, every Republican has voted repeatedly to do that very thing, to pay everyone and make all this madness stop. And the Democrats have now voted 13 times to keep the government closed. With regard to your first question, there will be a measure on the Senate floor today that Leader Thune and the Republicans are desperately trying to make sure that all these people are covered. They want all essential workers and all these categories to actually get their paycheck, even if the Democrats keep the government shut down. We are told that the Democrats have vowed to vote no on that measure. So they will not vote today. That's what we understand to be the case. They will vote against restoring paychecks to troops, Border Patrol agents, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, and all the rest. And it's unconscionable to us, but again, it's another step in their political game as they're using all of these people, hardworking Americans and their families, as leverage for their political purposes to cover their own tails with the radical left. Chad.
If it's so important to pay the air traffic controllers, you said you want to see what happens in the Senate. Why wouldn't you commit right now and say, we're going to have the House back in session and we're going to vote? Because you know as well as I do, sometimes when one body moves something, it gives emphasis to the other body.
Well, no, I don't know that. We just demonstrated it's not true, Chad. We passed the CR to get everybody paid. If I brought everybody back right now and we voted on a measure to do this, to pay essential workers, it would be spiked in the Senate. They're going to show you this afternoon that they would spike that bill. So it would be a waste of our time, and it would take the pressure off Chuck Schumer to get his job done and open the government again. This is what's so infuriating to us. Yes, sir.
You said yesterday that this needs to be assessed on a day-by-day basis. Now we're on day 23. Has the needle moved at all between the last 24 hours and what's it look like the next week or so?
Well, look, we do assess it day by day, hour by hour, because if you remember, the original CR was going to extend and allow 7 additional weeks for us to finish the appropriations process to November 21. Well, now they've eaten up, the month of October, and we're getting closer and closer to that deadline. And so it is something that we take into account. It's a day-by-day evaluation. I will tell you that appropriators are working right now, even though we're not on the House floor, and they're preparing the next batch of bills, and there's discussions going on at the leadership.
All right, yet again, you have been watching House Speaker Mike Johnson discuss the government shutdown, now in day 23, with yet again no end in sight. In just a minute, we're going to be joined by Fox streaming host Saida Abbas with the latest, including a state of emergency, perhaps declared in Virginia surrounding the shutdown, and some of the places where you folks can turn to if you happen to be in dire need. In the meantime, let's talk homecoming, shall we? And as we do just that, I see my next guest actually getting up to say hi to a couple of folks. But in this case, we're talking about Howard University's homecoming. Yes, it's that time of the year again. And in this case, their theme is one of one. It takes place from now through the 26th and features a fun-filled itinerary of annual traditions and honorary moments rooted in bison pride and, well, let's just say all things celebration. Joining us to discuss that is Mr. Gary Davis, VP of Athletics, joining us on the Live Zone. Mr. Davis, good to see you, my friend, and welcome to the show.
Good to see you too, man. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be part of homecoming weekend at Howard. There's no other place I'd rather be.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it's busy already. As I was, reading and doing the whole setup, I want folks at home to know, because we keep it real here, it's already busy in your office. Folks were coming, greeting you, saying hi, and you're like, hey, I got to hop on TV.
Oh, you can hear that. Okay.
No, it's all good. I mean, that's a good thing. It shows that you're busy. Can you explain the history of homecoming when it comes to the Mecca, if you will? And we're talking about the one and only Howard University.
Well, you know what? Howard, they call it the Mecca for a reason. Our homecoming is a celebration. It's a time for fellowship. It's a time for networking. It's a time for our alumni to connect with the 10,000 students that we have. We have a saying here in athletics that we want to respect the past, but represent the future. And Howard Homecoming is probably the best edification of that.
Yeah. Not only that, but I got to tell you, a high five going out to you all regarding the theme of this year. One of one. And when I saw that, that describes Howard University. It's one of one.
Yes, we are. I mean, I say all the time, Howard has the greatest collection of Black excellence anywhere in the world. It was something that I actually didn't even understand until I got here. But we produce the most lawyers, the most doctors. And yet people are incredibly creative. We're social, we're cultural. We set the standard around, not just in this country, but I think around the world in terms of our representation of the culture of Black excellence.
But not only that, sir, I think about the surrounding area and the community and what you've done really right here in the nation's capital. Now, I got to be honest with you, I did not attend Howard University, but I've been to a plethora of Howard homecomings. And I think I'm not the only one that happens to be in that position. So with that being said, what you all have been able to do, the day in and day out of knowing that all you all do there is excellence, and for that to exude and for others to feel that and understand that, and I didn't even attend, it's got to speak volumes with regard to the university itself.
Well, you know something? Most people are shocked to learn that I didn't attend Howard University either. But I recognized very early on that I stood on the shoulders of people who went to Howard. And that's part of our legacy. We're proud. We have an incredible network of alumni who continue to come back and support the school. And again, like you said, we are one of one. I don't believe there's any other university like us. And I know there's no other homecoming like a Howard homecoming.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the big story with regard to homecoming, the game. And that's set to get underway this upcoming Saturday, 3:30. You all are going to take on the Morgan State Bears at Green Stadium. I guess it's a dumb question, but who's going to win?
Well, you know what? It's not a dumb question because I will tell you this. I never guarantee that we're going to win any football game. I certainly don't want to provide any locker room material for their coaching staff. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Morgan State's coaching staff and their players, and they're very talented this year. That being said, you know who's going to win, ain't you? You know?
I like how you did that. That was really cool. We got to run, sir, but I got to tell you, kudos to all you all have done. Of course, your great folks over there, Monica included. I'm thinking about, with regard to the athletic department, your swimming, from swimming to your golf program. Dear God, your track program, it just goes on and on. It seems like every other day I'm getting an email about what you all have accomplished and all of your accolades. And so you're doing a great job and you're representing HBCUs very well, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Last year we won six conference championships, and the year before we won 7. It's just been an incredible run for us. And, you know, it's based on commitment, and we're committed to excellence across all platforms.
All right. So can I end with it? H-U?
You know.
And we know oh so well, Howard Homecoming officially underway. Yet again, we have been speaking with Mr. Kerry Davis, VP of Athletics. Sir, I truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Happy homecoming.
Thank you for having me. Happy homecoming to you as well. I hope to see you up on the yard.
Yes, sir. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. The latest on the government shutdown. Saida Abbas joins us next, right here on the Live Zone. That's back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 2 minutes past the top of the hour. We're going to do a little celebrity dish with Poet Taylor over at WPGC in just a minute. But first, obviously, the big story of the day, the government shutdown, now day 23. Saida Abbas joining us with the latest.
Yeah, and of course, Guy, you want to talk about the state of emergency for Virginia, what the governor has just mentioned, and also what's out there for furloughed workers as they're navigating this incredibly intense time in their lives. So Governor Glenn Youngkin says he's going to be declaring a state of emergency. He's already done this to give emergency hunger relief for Virginians. So he's saying this is in response to what he is calling the Democratic shutdown, causing SNAP benefits to run out basically in a couple of weeks coming up next month, November, first important date there. So he mentioned the state of emergency is going to help him to expend emergency funds under some sufficient authority to protect the health, welfare, and safety of Virginians. So now we want to talk about what's out there for government workers when they're stressed out at this time in limbo. So let's talk about the help. Virginia officials are reminding federal workers that there are state laws that protect from eviction, foreclosure during the shutdown. So Pepco is a major electric company as well in the capital region, and they told us they're putting in extended payment plans to help federal workers pay their bills. Let's talk about Maryland state government. So they're allowing furloughed federal workers to apply for unemployment, but listen, they do have to pay back that money once they get that back pay from their companies. Starting October 6th, the state's also offering $700 no interest loans to impacted employees, and these loans they have to be repaid within 45 days after the shutdown ends, and really hoping that we see light at the end of the tunnel, but right now it seems like it's not ending anytime soon.
Yeah, and yet again, kudos going out to you, Saida. One of the things that you have been doing is really not only covering this, but making sure you provide our reviewers with information as to where they can turn to for help. There are so many folks that are in dire need of help because of the current situation, so we appreciate you doing just that.
Absolutely, people need it.
All right, obviously we can have the latest on our website, fox5dc.com. Well, many of you are watching us. Perhaps if you happen to hop in the car and take a quick trip down to grab a bite to eat, you listen to the radio. And if you're listening to the radio, 9 times out of 10, you're probably listening to my friend. I'm referring to none other than Poet Taylor, WPGC Shenanigans, right here on the Live Zone. Poet, always good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
It's so good to be seen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, say hi. Say hi to Saida as well.
Hi, I wanted to make sure I said hi to you.
All right.
I love that red. You always look bomb.com.
Thank you. So do you.
Let's do a little celebrity dish, huh? How about the three of us do it? Just have a little fun. In this case, we're going to kick it off with 50 Cent. Well, he recently got a chance to sit down with Extra, and while doing so, well, let's just say he shouted out Taylor Swift. Why? Because she shouted him out in her recent song, Ruin the Friendship. The lyric reads, as the 50 Cent song played, should have kissed you anyway.
Okay, Taylor.
I think you should have probably read that. Well, 50 said it was really cool being mentioned on the album and also shared his thoughts on Taylor's fiance and if collabs happen to be in the cards. To which he said, hey, I'm open to it. What are you thinking, Poet?
I love everything about this. Tay-Tay be knowing what to do. See how she did that? And now 50 Cent on Extra talking, and now she done made it to the Fox 5 Live Zone. Girl, shout me out next out on the remix. I would love to see them spoof the 50 Cent song that was playing, him being in the video for said song.
Yeah, but I said this earlier. I got a chance to hop on with Marissa and Dennis T for Celebrity Dish this morning on Good Day DC. You know what's cool about this, Poet and Saida? The mere fact that I'm thinking back to Kanye West when he slammed Taylor. At that time, it was kind of like hip hop against pop.
Yeah.
And to think that, in my opinion, that the two can now come together because you got two at the head saying that it's cool, I think it sets the right example.
I think he was doing that for Beyonce.
You think so? Say what, Poet?
Anytime we can come together and make some joyous noise in the midst of all this chaos, we need to do it. And if they need some leading people, you see 3 leading people right in front of you. Say, City, holla at them.
All right, we have to talk about my girl Janet Jackson, who just looks incredible all the time, but she was looking even better at the Icon Award, getting the Icon Award wearing an all-black dress. So during her acceptance speech, she spoke about an age-defying message for her fans, and all eyes were on pop legend Janet Jackson there during the annual Dancers Against Cancer Gala. Again, a great event. Janet, or Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, stole the show in a black dress, like we mentioned. She looks amazing. Oh my
What do
God.
you think, Poet?
We've been telling y'all that you guys black don't crack and babies don't age, and now you keep getting all of these examples. Look at her. Now I also understand when you got multi-million and you can do some things that regular people can't, but this is what you look like when you ain't out here gossiping, being nasty, and you drinking your water, minding your business, keeping the universe of God first. Look at how you can age gracefully. She looks so good. What's 4 + 4? 8.
Yeah.
Left no crumb. Oh, Lord.
Well, I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you do what you do oh so well, and that is, well, I guess back in the day we would be called disc jockeys. But what's your favorite Janet Jackson song? Out of curiosity.
What have you done for me lately?
Dun 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 dun. How do we all know that? And that was right on cue.
Wow, you all have a really great voice.
Hey, we'll end with this. In this case, we're talking all things Housewives of Potomac, but Wendy Osefo now speaking out following her recent arrest. The star was arrested alongside her husband earlier this month, accusing the police now of illegal arrest. According to the documents obtained by Us Weekly, the reality star is demanding all charges be dismissed due to alleged defects in the charging document. Wendy and her husband are accused of fraud. Both were released from jail after posting a $50,000 bond. I know you have a lot to say about this, Poet.
I want to know what the defects are. They spell your name wrong, or are they lying about what they feel you did? Because I'm still holding on to you had too much to lose to risk it all for something so stupid. So what are the defects? Did they get your address wrong? Did they spell Bravo wrong? Say you were a Real Housewife of Pittsburgh? Like, Wendy, sometimes it's better to not say nothing, step out of the light, and work on it in the background. Girl.
Yeah. She has a lot going on. I mean, we learned yesterday, according to TMZ, that Bravo has now offered her some $10 million in order for all of this to play out in front of our eyes on the Real Housewives of Potomac. So either way, Poet and Said, I mean, in my opinion, she's winning. I mean, $10 million, she will be the highest paid housewife to date.
I know you had a big reaction yesterday. You were like, that's a lot of money. I'm like, why is this seems unfair. That's a lot of money to give for a reality show. But hey, good for her.
I mean, it's $10 million for her, but how much will Bravo make off of that? And the whatever else. Let's not act like they doing something a favor. That's like the pocket change for them. One, and you know they're going to air her wife swap episode 2. That's what I'm really waiting for.
Yes.
The wife swap. Did we get all of this?
I think you're on to something, Poet. Speaking about being on to something, you are always on working. What you got coming up?
Y'all just talked about it. This government shutdown and everything else happening in the village has caused some disruption in what our normal lives look like. So this Friday, I will actually be pulling up on Marlboro Pike to Venue 112 with my good village cousin, Leslie DeWhite, and we are giving away groceries. There will be career services, financial services, wellness services. Instead of telling people to go here, there, everywhere to get something, we've created a one-stop shop from 7 to 10 p.m., absolutely free, with free food, free sips. And because we know the shutdown happened while most of us were planning to go see Brandy and Monica, we'll be giving away a pair of VIP tickets to see Brandy and Monica, just trying to keep the energy and the vibrations high as we center joy in chaos.
Yeah.
So Friday, you free, come join me tomorrow night. Have a good time, get some resources, get loved up on, and we're going to get to the light at the end of this tunnel together.
All right. I have a feeling if I look up giving back in the dictionary, we're going to see her right there.
Yes.
Poet Taylor, because that's what you always do. And we truly appreciate you for a little celebrity dish on a Thursday right here on the Live Zone. We'll chat soon, Poet.
Chat soon. Love you, village.
All right, guys. It is now 10 minutes past the top of the hour. You're taking a live look at the White House, where any minute now we are expecting White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to make her way to that podium. When that happens, we'll take you there on the Live Zone. We'll be right back. All right, guys, just like that, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Time for our Thursday Talkers with our friend, your friend, everybody's friend, Annie Mae.
Everybody's bestie.
Yeah.
Everybody's bestie.
Don't you like that?
Yeah.
I get stopped so many times and they say, Guy, I love that segment you do with Annie Mae. And I'm
Oh
like,
my God,
yeah, she's the
really?
coolest.
That's so cute.
I was
love
just saying that, but it's really kind of true.
Oh, stop.
I'm just playing.
Fake
No, seriously.
compliments. Oh, that's cute. Guy did tell me that his mom watches, so
Oh, yeah.
hi to Guy's mom.
Oh, thank you. Now watch, I'm going to get a text any minute. Oh my God, Annie Mae said hi to me. Hi. Hey, we're talking about some of the stories you, my friends, are discussing at home. And Annie Annie Mae, this might be right up your alley. In this case, we're talking about being a bridesmaid and how much it'll cost you. Apparently, a lot, according to a newly released study. When it comes to being a bridesmaid and you factor in, let's see, the dress, the shoes, the hair, the makeup, the gifts, the mandatory pre-wedding blowouts, a local wedding can cost you as much as $2,500 just for you to show up and show out for your friend. What are you thinking about that?
What are you guys paying for? I don't know. I've never been a bridesmaid before.
Really?
Not yet.
Wow, okay.
None of my really, really close friends have gotten married. My cousin got married, but it was a very, very small ceremony, so technically I was a bridesmaid, but we didn't even stand up there.
Yeah.
It was more just like wear whatever you want, like kind of thing. It really wasn't big at all.
Okay.
And then I've never been a bridesmaid other than that. We didn't do anything specifically for that one, but I'm trying to like think of what you would spend the money on. I mean, like on a away trip, if you spend money on like flight and hotel, yeah, I can see that. But if it's local, I'm not seeing it.
Well, so I was just at a wedding a couple of weeks ago. That's why I was gone.
Yeah.
And to your point, it was in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah,
so I
that's
flew
where the
there.
money comes.
Ticket was pricey.
Yeah.
Hotel even pricier.
Yeah.
But then for me, we had to rent a tux. That was sort of pricey. You have to provide food. You got to entertain the groom, meaning we took them all out to get some drinks. That was pricey.
Yeah, and then you ended up paying the tab. Yeah.
So it was about that amount.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I could say though is that like when people do like a bachelorette weekend where they're like, oh, get this, so we can all have matching outfits. Let's go to this place. Let's go to this place, and let's like get drinks here, and we're going to Nashville or whatever. That I understand it like kind of racking up.
Yeah.
None of my close friends have gotten married yet, so I don't really know. But I feel like you could be right.
Would you say no if you? So let's just put it down. No matter what, it's going to cost you $2,500. You would still say yes?
I don't think I'd ever say no.
Really? Okay.
If somebody asked me, even that I didn't think that we were that close to be their bridesmaid, if they asked me, I would probably say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Besides, like a random stranger.
So everybody at home, you're looking to get married. You order as a bridesmaid.
For hire. Bridesmaid for hire. I've never been a bridesmaid, not a bride either. So it's not even like never a bridesmaid or always a bridesmaid, never a bride. It's just never either.
Okay. Well, it's coming. Both of them. I'm telling you. Let's move on to something that you won't be a part of once you get married. In this case, Tinder. Did you hear about this?
Hopefully.
You're going to have to get your face scanned if you want to use one of the biggest dating apps on the planet. Tinder announcing a first-of-its-kind facial verification feature that helps confirm users are real and match their profile photos. I think this is somewhat needed.
I think this is good too, because there are a lot of people that will use my photos and go on Tinder. No, I'm just saying, like, they'll use your photos.
Yeah.
Me in that context is what I'm saying. They'll use Guy's photos and they'll go and they'll be like Guy Lambert, and then it'll be like blah blah blah, and you go and you swipe right and you swipe left. People think they're going to show up and meet you, and they show up and meet me. Like where you're just like catfishing people.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has ever used my pictures on a dating app. Or at least I've never heard of it that I have, but I think this is totally needed to like be able to verify like that you are the person that you say you are, because you can just use, I don't know, Kendall Jenner's pictures and some ding dong is gonna be like, oh my God, I'm going on a date with Kendall Jenner. Like, no, you're not, bro. You're in Tyson's. You're not going on a date with Kendall Jenner. Like, people will believe that.
There are a lot of creeps out there.
Yeah.
And so to think that this is another, let's say, barrier that you could put up to make sure that you don't have to deal with those creeps, I'm all for it.
Well, it wouldn't be like that crazy to think that like in this area somebody would use my photo, pretend to be me, and then like it wouldn't really be that weird to see something like that. I mean, I would never do it, but I could see why somebody would use my stuff.
But I don't understand. So let's say I use your photo, but when I show up, I'm not you. So the chances of me, let's say,
they probably just never show up to the date.
Is that what it
where
is?
they
So
just
what's
like
the
have those
point?
like catfishing like conversations where they just like text people for like 6 months, whatever.
Grow up, people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's like a thing. Don't
Really?
you remember that show Catfish
I
on
do,
MTV
but
from years ago? Where they would just text people and they would, oh, let's meet up. And they would just never meet up. And they're, oh, let's meet up. Never meet up. And for like 3 years, you're having an online relationship with somebody. People think they're in a relationship with you. They show up to the game and they're like, hey, Annie Mae. And I'm like, huh? No.
Like, I said to meet me here at 7 o'clock and you're here.
No, weird.
Let's take a picture.
Yeah.
That's so funny. What's not funny? Horror movies. Apparently, today happens to be National Horror Movie Day. Another sign that spooky season is upon us. All right, I need to practice that a little bit better next time.
Yeah.
So grab your popcorn, a blanket, and whatever else you need to get throughout a scary movie. You got any favorite scary movies?
I hate scary movies.
No.
Why would I want to be scared, Guy? I don't like thrillers. I don't like scary movies. I don't like the idea of what's the Exorcist, like whatever the Exorcist steps with like Georgetown. Why would I ever want to watch that? Why
Because
would
you get
I want
scared?
to scare myself? No, I don't like that. No. No.
By the way, quick story. When I was a teenager, my mom said, Guy, you cannot watch The Exorcist. And so one time she left, I don't know where she went. It was
I'm
nighttime.
gonna watch it.
I popped it in, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, all of the lights went off in the house.
Nah.
True story. I promise to God. Now that freaked me out.
Yeah. Do you like scary movies?
Oh, I love scary movies.
Oh, no.
I'll even watch them alone. Now, the gory stuff, that's not really up my alley. Like,
I'm not that either.
And the
these
demon
days,
stuff,
These days you can really just watch anything on the internet and out in movies too. The stuff that HBO puts out, I'm like, yo, I didn't even know you can show that on TV. The things you can say and show on some, I guess you can't say them on like streaming, like cable TV, but you can say them on like the HBOs of the world. I'm like, what? Since when did we approve that?
What
I
about
need to talk to the FCC.
Suspense movies? Like, what is that? Final Destination or Final?
I guess like thriller, like people like put it in like a thriller genre. I mean, as long as it's not scary or if somebody's getting their head chopped off, like I'm good. Like I don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it on the internet. Real. I don't want to watch it in a movie. Fake. I don't care if it's real or fake. I don't want to watch it. I'm the person that closes my eyes. I go, no, and then I change the channel. My boyfriend watches everything. Desensitized. I'm like, yo, that's the problem with this world is that people are desensitized and they just watch everything.
I kind of have a feeling you would maybe just talk through the movie a little bit.
I would. Me? Never.
I'm just playing.
No, you're right.
Annie Mae joining us for our Thursday Talkers right here on the Fox 5 Live Zone.
I'm going to go talk through another show.
Bye, Annie Mae. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, you were taking a live look at the White House, where we are awaiting White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to make her way to the podium to address the latest government shutdown. Obviously, we are now in day 23 with no end in sight. Lawmakers still at a standstill, as you will hear from House Speaker Mike Johnson.
We're backwards to mitigate the harms to the American people. We got WIC funded by bootstrapping a 1930s era statute regarding tariff revenue. He found unobligated funds in the R&D accounts at DOD, get the troops paid in the middle of October. But we're running out of resources. They're running out of creative ideas, and there is not an existing pot of money that could cover the air traffic controllers' salaries right now. And so that is why we have to get the government reopened. Again, every Republican has voted repeatedly to do that very thing, to pay everyone and make all this madness stop. And the Democrats have now voted 13 times to keep the government closed. With regard to your first question, there will be a measure on the Senate floor today that Leader Thune and the Republicans are desperately trying to make sure that all these people are covered. They want all essential workers and all these categories to actually get their paycheck, even if the Democrats keep the government shut down. We are told that the Democrats have vowed to vote no on that measure. So they will not vote today. That's what we understand to be the case. They will vote against restoring paychecks to troops, Border Patrol agents, air traffic controllers, TSA agents, and all the rest. And it's unconscionable to us, but again, it's another step in their political game as they're using all of these people, hardworking Americans and their families, as leverage for their political purposes to cover their own tails with the radical left. Chad.
If it's so important to pay the air traffic controllers, you said you want to see what happens in the Senate. Why wouldn't you commit right now and say, we're going to have the House back in session and we're going to vote? Because you know as well as I do, sometimes when one body moves something, it gives impetus to the other body.
Well, no, I don't know that. We just demonstrated it's not true, Chad. We passed the CR to get everybody paid. If I brought everybody back right now and we voted on a measure to do this, to pay essential workers, it would be spiked in the Senate. They're going to show you this afternoon that they would spike that bill. So it would be a waste of our time, and it would take the pressure off Chuck Schumer to get his job done and open the government again. This is what's so infuriating to us. Yes, sir.
You said yesterday that this needs to be assessed on a day-by-day basis. Now we're on day 23. Has the needle moved at all between the last 24 hours and what's it look like the next week or so?
Well, look, we do assess it day by day, hour by hour, because if you remember, the original CR was going to extend and allow 7 additional weeks for us to finish the appropriations process to November 21. Well, now they've eaten up, the month of October, and we're getting closer and closer to that deadline. And so it is something that we take into account. It's a day-by-day evaluation. I will tell you that appropriators are working right now, even though we're not on the House floor, and they're preparing the next batch of bills, and there's discussions going on at the leadership level and among appropriators across chambers and across the aisle, because they're serious people that understand we have to do serious work. And so we continue to evaluate it. But our plea today is to the Democrats. Please, 5 centrists in the Senate, do the right thing. You know what the right thing is. Play the tape. You can find a floor speech or media interview with every single Democrat in the Senate. Every single one of them have given impassioned speeches. We could come up here in lieu of a press conference and show you their own words where they say that this should never happen, that it would be harmful to the country and harmful to people, and now they're saying they don't care. They know better. They know in their hearts this is wrong, and we're asking them to stop it. Back row.
Last question. Speaker Johnson, Louisiana and a lot of other states have warned SNAP recipients they won't get benefits next month.
Yep.
Reportedly, some Republicans are considering a bill standalone on that. If they did pass it, would you be open to doing so here?
If the Senate passes the bill, then the House will address that. I talked to my Governor Jeff Landry in Louisiana, who greatly laments. We have lots of SNAP recipients in our state, as we do in many others. And you're talking about, I think it's 42 or 43 million Americans rely upon that vital service. And it's unconscionable that they would be held at bay and held as leverage on this. That's the pain that Chad Pergram asked Whip Clark yesterday, the pain that American families would suffer. And she said, yeah, it's regrettable, but hey, this is our time of leverage. We just let their own words speak for themselves. We're not for that. The Democrats are. I'll leave you with this thought. Republicans have now voted 13 times to open your government. The Democrats have voted 13 times to close it. The Democrats own this shutdown and all these horrible consequences, and you need to remind them of that. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Mike Johnson speaking earlier with regard to all things surrounding the government shutdown. That's what happened this morning. You are now taking a live look at the White House, where in a minute now, yet again, we are awaiting White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to approach that podium. We just saw a little bit of activity, so we expect that to get underway momentarily. We'll take a quick break, reset, and we'll be right back. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 2 minutes past the bottom of the hour. You are taking a look at, well, quite honestly, two players, one former player and one current player and one current NBA coach that happens to be in the hot seat. That is the big story of the hour, along with what's going on at the White House. In this case, all things surrounding the government shutdown. Let's take you to the White House, where White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt now addressing the media.
Tomorrow night at 11 p.m., the president will depart the White House to fly to Malaysia, where he will arrive on Sunday morning local time. It's a long flight. President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the Prime Minister of Malaysia in the afternoon, and then he will attend the ASEAN Leaders Working Dinner that evening. On Monday morning local time, the president will fly to Tokyo. Tuesday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with the new Prime Minister of Japan. On Wednesday morning local time, the president will fly to Busan, where he will participate in a bilateral meeting with the President of the Republic of Korea, deliver keynote remarks at the APEC CEO luncheon, and then participate in a U.S. APEC Leaders Working Dinner. On Thursday morning local time, President Trump will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Xi of the People's Republic of China before departing to return home to Washington, D.C. On Thursday night, upon arrival in Washington, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will participate in Halloween at the White House, where they will welcome law enforcement, military, and foster families. And I know many of us look forward to that. In other news, we are now on day 23 of the Democrat government shutdown. Senate Democrats have voted 12 separate times now to keep the government closed. Innocent Americans are suffering every day as a result. More than 500,000 civilian federal employees will miss a full paycheck tomorrow. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month. This means almost $4 billion in capital is being withheld from small businesses across the country. The Democrat shutdown is also causing severe impacts at airports across the country. In one single day this week, the FAA had to issue ground stops impacting flights at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport and Hobby Airport. 13,000 air traffic controllers who ensure that we all fly safely are continuing to work without pay. This is egregious and truly sad. Some of them are reportedly being forced to turn to driving for Uber and taking on other second jobs to make ends meet as the Democrats continue to shut down the government. Pilots are calling on Democrats to end this dangerous political game. The president of the Southwest Airlines Pilot Association called for the clean continuing resolution to be passed, saying, quote, "Our air traffic controllers and the broader air traffic system are already operating under immense pressure. A government shutdown only compounds that stress and threatens the efficiency of our skies." The Airline Pilots Association International, which represents more than 80,000 pilots, is sounding the alarm as well. They said this shutdown is undermining our system's safety. Resources are stretched thin, negotiations are delayed, and strain grows daily. With the Thanksgiving holiday approaching, we are nearing the busiest travel period of the entire year, when millions of Americans will go to airports to spend time with their loved ones. Let us be very clear from the White House today. If the Democrats continue to keep the government closed, we fear there will be significant flight delays, disruptions, and cancellations in major airports across the country this holiday season. If Democrats continue to shut down the government, they will also be shutting down American air travel. The White House is in constant communication with the air traffic controllers, with the airline associations, and with them, we urge Democrats to please pass the continuing resolution so we can just end this madness and this chaos and reopen the government. These are very avoidable consequences. The unnecessary pain, unfortunately, does not end there. Funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program known as SNAP, which provides food benefits to low-income families, is beginning to lapse this week in some states. If Democrats continue to hold Americans hostage, there will not be enough funds to provide SNAP benefits for more than 40 million Americans on November 1st. That is next week. Democrats are solely responsible for all of this unnecessary pain. Why are they doing it? To give taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal aliens, some of whom are violent criminals. During the 4 years of Joe Biden's administration, The Democrats forced Border Patrol to admit illegal aliens into our country with no legal status and minimal screening. A significant number of these individuals are the worst of the worst criminals: rapists, pedophiles, murderers, and even members of the terrorist watch list. Despite having no legal status, paroled aliens were able to file for work authorization, receive Social Security numbers, and access other benefits like Medicaid that are meant for Americans. Since I've found many in this room to repeatedly deny the reality that Democrats gave Medicaid benefits to illegals, and they continue to seek to do just that, I brought a few verified examples for you today. These are examples of some of the illegals who received Medicaid benefits under President Biden's leadership, and this is what Democrats are wanting to do. This is why they are continuing to keep the government closed. An illegal alien from Laos was arrested for murder, robbery, and felony possession of a firearm. An illegal alien from Guatemala who was arrested for rape and burglary. An illegal alien from El Salvador who was arrested for strangulation, DUI, and burglary. An illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested for attempted murder. The Democrats' open border policies allowed these threats into our country, and then they provided them with free health care. The president and the Republicans, through the One Big Beautiful Bill, implemented a common sense reform to end this fraudulent scheme. But that's why the Democrats are continuing to shut down the federal government. They are trying to reverse this and restore taxpayer-funded health care for illegal aliens like these. Throughout this shutdown, Democrats have said this quiet part out loud. Senator Chuck Schumer, the leader of the caucus that is refusing to open the government, said, quote, "Every day gets better as the shutdown continues." Ask the air traffic controllers if every day is getting better, Senator Schumer, and they will tell you absolutely not. House Democrat Catherine Clark said, "There are going to be families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility seriously, but this is one of the few leverage points that we have." Here is a House Democrat who is admitting that they are using Americans who are suffering as political leverage. And Senator Bernie Sanders said, "If you reopen the government, we lose our leverage." This is pure partisan games. A senior Democrat aide said the party will not end the shutdown, quote, "short of planes falling out of the sky." That is truly a disturbing statement. The Democrats clearly don't care about this suffering. They care about playing political games against President Trump, and this dangerous charade needs to end. President and Republicans' position has been clear and unchanged. Pass a clean, nonpartisan funding bill to reopen the government. And then we can talk about all of the partisan issues that the Democrats wish to. If you're watching at home, we urge you to call your Democrat senators and tell them to put our country over their party and reopen the government today. Here in our new media seat, we have Brittany Gibson of Axios. Brittany, why don't you start us off for our Q&A today? Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Two questions, if I may, Caroline. First is, we understand that the president and Republicans will not negotiate on ACA extensions until the government reopens. If and when that happens, what does the president think should be, or what are his plans for preventing rising healthcare costs for Americans?
It's a very good question, and I'll leave that to the president to negotiate that when Democrats vote to reopen the government. When it comes to lowering healthcare costs, the president is deeply committed to this. It's why he has spent so much time and effort negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the healthcare costs of prescription drugs. All of you have been in the Oval Office for multiple different announcements. We've had these most favored nations deals with these large pharmaceutical companies committing to lowering drug costs in this country. So it's something the president wants to do. And Brittany, one more point. I'll just point out the irony in Democrats holding the government and the American public hostage over a healthcare system that they created. The healthcare system was called Obamacare. Why? Because Democrats and President Obama implemented. And Republicans have always said it's a broken system, yes, but they caused it, and now they want to shut down the government to fix it. We need to open the government, and then we can have these very important conversations about healthcare.
Thank you. And the second on H-1Bs and foreign students. During the campaign, President Trump said he wanted to make it easier for foreign students to work at U.S. companies, staple a green card to every diploma. But the changes from several agencies now on H-1Bs are adding more obstacles to that. The administration is being sued over those changes. Can you explain the changes in the president's thinking on H-1Bs?
The administration will fight these lawsuits in court. The president's main priority has always been to put American workers first. and also to strengthen our visa system. We know for far too long the H-1B visa system has been spammed with fraud, basically, and that's driven down American wages. So the president wants to refine this system, which is part of the reason he implemented these new policies. These actions are lawful, they are necessary, and we'll continue to fight this battle in court. Garrett.
I have two questions on different topics, if you'll indulge me. On the pardon of Changpeng Zhao, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that name, Binance has significant business interests with World Liberty Financial, the president's family's crypto company. How do you respond to the allegations from Democrats that this is a corrupt act?
I would respond and say the president is exercising his constitutional authority to grant clemency requests. And the president and the White House have a very thorough examination of every pardon request that comes to the president's desk. It is thoroughly reviewed by the White House Counsel Office, and I spoke with our great White House counsel about the pardon after it happened. This was an overly prosecuted case by the Biden administration. Even the judge in the case admitted that the Biden administration was pursuing a egregious over-sentencing of this individual, and the previous administration was very hostile to the cryptocurrency industry. So the president wants to correct this overreach of the Biden administration's misjustice, and he exercised his constitutional authority to do so. And to the Democrats, I would just say there's nothing more corrupt than what President Biden did on his way out the door, pardoning his extremely corrupt son and many of his associates.
On the ballroom, first of which will probably be several questions about this, I imagine.
Is it a big story?
It seems that way. The president's cost estimate has changed several times. I think it's up to $300 million now. Given the nature of all this, will the White House commit to releasing all of the donors and how much they're spending and how much of his own money the president is putting on the line to this?
We have released the full list of donors thus far. Perhaps there will be more people who want to generously contribute to this project. And the president, yes, has committed his own resources, and when he releases that information, which I'm very confident he will, you will all see that.
We'll see a dollar figure from the president?
Yes,
Okay.
he will. And I would also just add the president has been incredibly transparent. I would reject any notion otherwise when it comes to this ballroom project. It's something he personally has obviously taken an interest into and has talked with all of you in this room many times about. You have seen the model in the Oval Office. Last night he showed that for you, but when this plan was presented and when these renderings, as soon as they were complete, the president directed me to come out here and to share them with all of you. I did an entire opening remarks about what this ballroom project was going to look like. With any construction project, there are changes over time as you assess what the project is going to look like, and we'll continue to keep you apprised of all of those changes, but just trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
To follow up on that, one thing that's not in the president's model is the East Wing bunker, the president's emergency operations center. Can you say if his update, that $300 million, does that include the cost for upgrading that bunker?
Look, like any security enhancements that are made on the White House grounds, those will be made and maintained by United States Secret Service. As for the cost of the ballroom and the construction itself, all of that is going to be, like I've said, privately funded and paid for by the president himself and many generous patriots who have stepped up.
Is included in that funding?
Correct.
Okay, and then can you say, well, that's right, I'll skip that one.
Thanks.
Thank you, Caroline. More ballroom questions. So the White House has explained that the reason you didn't submit construction plans to the NCPC is because that commission, along with others, don't have oversight over demolitions, but only over construction. And so far, you haven't built anything. So can you help us understand, can the president tear down anything he wants without oversight? Could he demolish this building or, say, the Jefferson Memorial?
So it's not the president who came up with that legal opinion himself. That's a legal opinion that's been held by the NCPC for many years. It's written, so we can get you that background and that research if you wish to include it in your reporting, because it is very important. They have ruled consistently. Their general counsel has said when it comes to phase one of this project, the tearing down of the current East Wing structure, a submission is not required legally for that. Only for vertical construction will a submission be required, and that's a legal opinion from them, and we are following that legal opinion. And again, I would just add, can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex. This briefing room, as you all know, was not once a briefing room, it was a swimming pool. There have been presidents who have completely torn down the executive mansion. If you look at what President Truman did, some of the photos of the construction project that took place in those years. I think sitting here today, we're all grateful for those efforts and the modifications that happened at that time. And again, in due time, the East Wing is going to be more beautiful and modern than ever before. And in addition, there will be a big, beautiful ballroom that can hold big parties and state visits for generations to come.
So it sounds like the answer is yes, he can tear down whatever he wants. And then secondly, I mean...
that's not what we're saying. That's a legal opinion that's been held for many years.
Is that how you're interpreting it?
No, it's something that presidents have done for years and years. In fact, I have some photos here, thank you, Pat, to show you the construction that's taken place on the White House grounds. This is the construction of the West Wing in 1902. Look at this, the construction of the West Terrace in 1902. These images look quite similar to what you and the American people are seeing today, the construction of the East Terrace.
I'm asking about the demolishing.
Look at the construction of the West Wing expansion in 1934. So, look, this is a legal opinion that's been held for many years. Look at, this is 1950.
Yes,
It looks a lot like what you were seeing today.
Can he demolish anything he wants?
What do you think that
oversight?
rubble is? How did that rubble get there?
Right, so I'm asking, and then back to the donors,
Go ahead,
many of them are...
Reagan, go ahead.
One on immigration and another on Venezuela. It's being reported that the semi-truck driver suspected of killing 3 people in a DUI crash is an illegal immigrant who came in under the Biden administration. Do you know if California gave him a commercial driver's license? And then it also appears that California largely has not been cooperating with English proficiency standards. I'm wondering if the administration has any further plans to punish the state.
Yes, I can confirm that California gave this individual a license, and it is something that the Department of Transportation has already looked into. I know Secretary Duffy, who's doing a phenomenal job, has spoken on this many times in the crackdown that the Department of Transportation is taking on these licenses that are wrongfully being issued to people who clearly do not deserve to uphold these positions. As for this case in California, on October 22nd, ICE lodged an immigration detainer for this individual following his arrest by local authorities in California on charges, as you know, of manslaughter while intoxicated and driving under the influence. He killed 3 people, and he first entered the United States in 2022 through the southern border, and he was released into our country by the previous administration. So now ICE has lodged a separate detainer for this individual, and these tragedies are following a disturbing pattern of these criminal illegal aliens being issued commercial vehicle licenses. And so yes, the Department of Transportation is absolutely cracking down on that. I defer you to them for any specifics.
Venezuela,
Sure.
President Trump has said Maduro doesn't want to mess with the United States, and this administration is continuing to position more military assets towards Venezuela. I'm wondering if the end goal of this narco-terrorist war is to implement a regime change in Venezuela.
The president has spoken on that, Reagan, and I certainly won't get ahead of him. What we've made very clear is that this administration is not going to tolerate international narco-terrorist organizations from trafficking drugs into the United States. And these cartels over time have grown more armed, well-organized, and violent. They have financial means, sophistication, and capabilities needed to operate in the way this administration has. And they have illegally caused the deaths of tens of thousands of American citizens each year. So that's where we are right now with respect to Venezuela, but also any country that is sending purposefully illegal narco-terrorists to the United States of America to bring illegal drugs. Why don't we go in the back?
Thank you, Caroline. The U.S. and Colombian relationship right now is at one of its lowest points in decades. We heard what President Gustavo Petro had to say about President Trump. We heard yesterday the response from President Trump. Is there any kind of compromises or gestures from the Colombian president that President Trump would like to see in order to de-escalate the tensions? Is it possible a de-escalation?
I don't think we're seeing de-escalation from the unhinged leader of Colombia right now, and I don't think the president, frankly, is interested in that at this point. He spoke on this yesterday, and I don't have anything to add to his comments.
Caroline,
Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden
I'm going into the
patio,
back, sorry. Go ahead.
in addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no, but he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
Caroline.
Kristen.
Caroline, thank you. Last week, President Trump announced that he had a productive call with Vladimir Putin. They scheduled a meeting in Hungary. Since then, he has canceled the meeting and he has imposed sanctions on Russian oil companies. Can you talk about what changed that led to this dramatic shift, or even just what occurred in the last week that got us from point A to point B?
Sure. Look, the president has always maintained that he would implement sanctions on Russia when he felt it was appropriate and necessary. And yesterday was that day. I think the president has also long expressed his frustration with Vladimir Putin and frankly both sides of this war. And he's always said in order to negotiate a good peace deal, both sides need to be interested in a good peace deal. And he feels as though, unfortunately, from the Russian side as of late, he has not seen enough interest and enough action in terms of moving the ball forward towards peace. And so a meeting between these two leaders is not completely off the table. I think the president and the entire administration hopes that one day that can happen again, but we want to make sure that there's a tangible positive outcome out of that meeting, and that it's a good use of the president's time. Of course, he's traveling to Asia next week. He has a number of events coming up here on the home front as well. He's been incredibly busy, as you all know. You're all tired from covering him and his movements every day, and so we want to make sure it's a good use of the president's time, and the president doesn't want to waste his time, and he said that.
Was it the call between the Secretary of State and Lavrov that led President Trump to believe that President Putin or the Russians did not want a peace deal?
That was not the sole reason, no. I think the Secretary Rubio felt that was actually a productive call. But again, the president wants to make sure that a meeting between himself and President Putin will be a good use of this time.
But what exactly led to President Trump not believing, after his call on Thursday, where he said he did think he wanted peace and wanted a peace deal, to believing that Russians were not?
Again, the president wants to see action, not just talk. And I think the president is extremely motivated by the success of his peace deal in the Middle East to get things done. And he wants this war to come to an end. He's been saying it now for 9 months being in office, and he's grown increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress from both sides of this war.
The strikes on civilians, for example.
Two quick construction questions, if I can. You mentioned any construction project comes with changes. The president had initially said that this project wouldn't interfere with or touch the current structure. Now he says to do this properly, he realized that the East Wing had to be demolished. This is the people's house. Why not inform the public of that change and when it was decided that the East Wing would have to be demolished?
Look, again, with any construction project, changes come, and we have informed all of you. We've been keeping you apprised of this project. We've shown you the renderings, and if you look at the renderings, it's very clear the East Wing was going to be modernized. In fact, I said that in the briefing when we initially introduced this plan to all of you and to the public.
But modernized and tearing down are two different things.
Well, again, the plans changed when the president heard counsel from the architects and the construction companies who said that in order for this East Wing to be modern and beautiful for many, many years to come, for it to be a truly strong and stable structure, this phase one that we're now in was necessary. And the president wants to do right by the people's house, and so that's exactly what he's doing. It's going to be, again, like I said, much more stable, strong, secure, and more beautiful than ever once it's completed.
And where will those be? The First Lady's offices, the Social Secretary's office?
In the East Wing.
They will be back where they were?
Yes.
Carolyn. Thank you. Cattle ranchers who supported the president's election have raised some concerns about plans to import beef from Argentina. How will the Trump administration support those farmers?
Look, the president hears those concerns. He addressed them yesterday himself. The president loves our ranchers, and our ranchers love our president. And in fact, the president did a lot for them in his first term here. They are struggling because of the many horrible policies of the previous administration. The president loves our ranchers, and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, the president wants to bring that down, is we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports. The president also is looking out for our ranchers with a long-term plan that was released by the Secretary of Agriculture yesterday. It's a 3-part plan. It's very extensive and detailed. I would encourage all of you to read through it. But there's really 3 points to this plan that the President has agreed upon and has entrusted Secretary Rollins to implement. Number 1, strengthening U.S. cattle production through increased grazing access, endangered species reforms, enhanced disaster relief, increased access to capital, and reducing costs for new and young ranchers. We want to incentivize more Americans to get into this noble profession. Lowering long-term costs by cutting inspection costs, increasing market options for consumers with product of USA labeling, and ensuring consumers know that they are eating American beef. It's a good incentive for the American consumer. And lastly, growing the domestic herd while boosting long-term demand to reduce prices for consumers while growing the markets for our ranchers. So President hears them. He has to address both of these problems for the ranchers, but also for the American consumer. He promised to lower costs, and that's what he's committed to doing.
Caroline, thank you. 2 questions not on the ballroom. The first is, there's a Democrat in Texas who's actually running for Congress who said last night during an interview when talking about fighting Republicans and this administration, quote, "If you hit me in my face, I'm not going to punch you back in your face. I'm going to go across your neck." This has obviously really upset those folks over at Turning Point USA.
Yet again, you have been watching the White House press briefing with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Obviously, the topic of discussion, the government shutdown. Now day 23, the White House yet again putting the blame on the Democrats. We will continue to stream this on our YouTube page. You see it right there, youtube.com/@Fox5DC. Also, if you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take us with you any and everywhere you go. Let's get the overhead shot there, Joey. Guys, we truly appreciate you joining us. We do it each and every Monday through Friday, 12 to 2. Tell a friend, bring a friend, and we'll do it again. I'm Guy Lambert. He's Joey. Wave to the camera. The Take coming up next, right here on Fox 5.